Hi, my name is Margaret Davis. I stood up to show that I'm wearing a suit. I chose an article about the increase in minimum wage to $15 an hour. Uh, in order to increase minimum wage to 15 an hour, there are a couple laws that everybody's going to have to follow as soon as the minimum wage increases, and one of those is the Fair Labor Standards Act that was set in place in 1938. So as soon as minimum wage does increase federally, every state has to comply with it, and everybody has to have an increase in their pay if they're making anything under what the new minimum wage is set to. Increasing the minimum wage within companies may also affect other smaller things like offering benefits. Health benefits aren't required, but being able to offer them may not be an option anymore when some of that money has to go towards increasing pay for those making minimum wage. Another thing that may not be offered is extra bonuses for exceptional work. For those employees that are a little higher up in the company, in order for retention to be strong, those bonuses may disappear for them in order to help put money towards increasing the minimum wage. And another big thing that I read that may be affected by this whole increase in minimum wage is possible employee development and training. Increasing the minimum wage is going to cause the human resources departments to find somebody who's more qualified and already has the skill set for the position that's being offered at the minimum wage rate, instead of finding somebody who is just entering the workforce and, needs to learn those skills, needs to learn what they need to know to be qualified for positions like that. So it's going to cause a lack of training because the people that are already brought on will be qualified, so money won't have to go into the training and employee development, but it'll cause other people to not even be able to get on the job ladder originally. One of the big things that's going to be affected in the HR department is compression. When those employees that are making $7.25 right now do get an increase in minimum wage, what happens to those employees that are already making 15 an hour and are now technically making minimum wage with everybody else? Is it time to give them a raise too? Is it affordable to give them a raise? So the company itself, not only in the HR department, the whole company is going to have to budget and figure out whether or not there's enough in the budget to keep all the employees on that they have on right now, or to bring on new employees and things like that. Another big thing is compliance in the HR department. As new laws are set in place, HR is required to abide by them. So as minimum wage increases or things of that nature, HR needs to be sure that they're up to date and complying with all the rules that are being set in place. And another thing that's going to be affected, not only in bonuses, it's going to be affected in offering competitive rates for newer employees coming on. With extra money going towards bumping up pay for those making minimum wage, it's going to be hard to offer a competitive rate for somebody who is applying for a higher job in the company, who has the education and has the qualifications, but they can't quite make the rate that they are qualified to be making because that extra money is going towards those making minimum wage. And lastly, is the budget within the company. That's one of the really big things that's going to need to go into all of the considerations of raising minimum wage. A lot of small business, the article that I read said a lot of small businesses are not going to quite be able to keep up with raising minimum wage, especially those in the lower developed parts of the country. They're either going to have to drop employees, they're going to have to close their doors. It just kind of depends on whether they can afford it or not. As of right now, it's projected within the next 5 years, minimum wage will get up to 15 an hour, but within the next 2, it'll be raised to about $10.10. Even just raising it from $7.25 to $10.10, that's a $3 increase. And even though it doesn't sound like that much, it is a lot for smaller businesses. I worked for an ice cream company here in Maryland, and I know that when the minimum wage increases, the ice cream store is going to struggle a little bit. It's a very small business, it's a franchise, and ice cream stores, really, they're only busy in summer. So it's going to be hard in those winter months to keep up and to keep employees on all year round instead of just seasonally. That's another option that HR departments can decide to do, is whether, seasonal employees are the options. Another option that I read that HR could do is go through temp agencies and hire temporary employees, and they don't have to offer as many benefits to them as they would to a full-time on-board employee. So there's a couple things that go into considering whether raising the minimum wage is a smart idea or not. But the HR departments they're gonna struggle a little bit to determine who to keep, who to get rid of, who to hire new, what to offer them. So that's what I got out of the article that I read. Those are the main laws and main struggles that I read that human resources departments are going to have. And I personally think that as the minimum wage increases, inflation is going to happen. Employees who are already making what those minimum wage employees will bump up to be making, it's going to be hard to give them a raise as well. And I think that it could potentially cause problems within companies and HR departments and things like that. So as of right now, we'll see what happens. As of right now, minimum wage still sits at $7.25. And within the next 2 years, it'll probably bump up to about $10 an hour. So we'll have to see what happens. But as it increases with the minimum wage laws, companies are going to have to keep up with it and comply with all those new laws and pay their employees what they need to be paid. So there it is. And I hope you guys have a good summer. It was a great class, and have a good one.